So, have you ever noticed how some stories just like totally grab you
Yeah.
and they don't let go? You know, like there's almost this secret formula going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Well, get this, there kind of is.
Right.
It's called the 3-act structure.
Yeah.
And it's like everywhere.
It is.
From huge Hollywood blockbusters to that super captivating presentation you saw last week.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the backbone of any good story.
It's true.
So whether you're like prepping for that big meeting or brushing up on your storytelling skills, or you're just a curious mind like me, today we're going to take a deep dive into this not-so-secret formula
Okay.
to help you understand just what makes a story tick.
I like it.
So,
Yeah, it's true. The structure is like incredibly prevalent.
Yeah.
And while some people might call it formulaic,
Right.
understanding it is really like having a secret weapon in your storytelling arsenal.
Yeah.
It's not about being restrictive. It's about understanding those like core elements that make a story resonate.
Right.
Think of it like building a house.
Okay.
You need that solid foundation before you can get creative with the design.
So it's less about like paint by numbers
Yeah.
and more about having a blueprint
Exactly.
that can work for like any genre, any story.
Precisely. And the beauty is once you understand this framework, you can start to see it everywhere.
Wow.
It impacts not just the plot, but character development themes.
Uh-huh.
Even the psychological transformation of the characters within a story.
That's so fascinating.
Yeah.
So how about we break it down? I know we've got some great sources today,
Yeah.
including this analysis of Jurassic Park through this lens.
Jurassic Park is a fantastic example.
Yeah.
It perfectly blends character development with action.
Right.
And what's really interesting is that there's actually very little action
Okay.
until the midpoint of the film.
Really? I hadn't thought about it like that.
Yeah.
So the first half is all set up.
Exactly. And that's where the structure comes in. Author K.M. Weiland actually breaks the traditional 3 acts down into a more detailed 8-part framework.
Wow.
It helps us see the nuance within each act
Okay.
and how each part serves a specific purpose.
All right. I'm ready to dive into these 8 parts.
Okay.
Let's use Jurassic Park as our guide.
Perfect.
Where do we start?
At the very beginning, of course, the hook.
Okay.
This is all about grabbing the audience's attention and making them crave more.
Okay, so Jurassic Park, what's the hook?
Yeah.
Is it the dinosaurs?
Not quite remember that opening scene.
Duck?
We see these workers struggling with a mysterious crate. Tension is high.
Yeah.
And then chaos, someone gets attacked.
Right.
But we don't see...
Well, right, you're totally immersed in the tension.
Yeah.
But the source of the danger is completely unseen.
Exactly.
It makes you lean in,
Yeah.
wondering what's going to happen next.
That's the hook working its magic.
Uh-huh.
It raises questions. It establishes a tone of suspense.
Right.
And it sets the stage for everything that follows. It promises something exciting, maybe a little dangerous,
Yeah.
and makes you, the audience, want to uncover those mysteries.
Okay, so the hook pulls us in.
Yes.
What comes next in this 8-part framework?
The inciting incident.
Okay.
This is the event that kicks off the main conflict.
Mm-hmm.
The protagonist's call to adventure.
Right.
It's the moment the story truly begins.
So in a typical hero's journey, this would be like the moment they receive the message.
Yeah.
The invitation, the sign that their life is about to change.
You got it. And in Jurassic Park, it's when John Hammond dramatically arrives
Okay.
and invites Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler to his dinosaur park.
Oh, wow. That's right. It's not just the invitation itself.
Right.
It's the way that it's presented.
Yeah.
Hammond's arrival, the helicopter landing, the sheer audacity of what he's proposing.
It's true.
That's what really kicks things off.
Absolutely. And notice there's an initial refusal of the call.
Uh-huh.
Alan is hesitant, which adds another layer of intrigue.
Right.
It makes you wonder, will he accept the challenge?
Yeah.
What will it take for him to say yes?
Right. It wouldn't be as compelling if he just, like, jumped at the chance.
Yeah.
That initial reluctance
Uh-huh.
makes his eventual decision to go even more impactful.
Exactly.
We know it took something truly extraordinary
Right.
to convince him.
This brings us to the first plot point.
Okay.
That crucial moment where the protagonist fully commits to the journey, crossing a point of no return.
Okay.
This is where things get real.
This is where we leave the ordinary world behind
Yeah.
and step into the unknown. So in Jurassic Park.
It's that awe-inspiring moment when Alan and Ellie first see the Brachiosaurus.
Wow.
They arrive at the park, and there it is, a living dinosaur.
Right.
A spectacle beyond imagination.
Yeah.
It changes everything for
It's
me.
not just seeing a dinosaur.
Right.
It's the realization that, like, everything they thought they knew about
Yeah.
the world is wrong.
Oh.
It's a complete paradigm shift, and there's no going back from that.
Exactly. From that moment on, their lives are forever changed.
Wow.
The experience has fundamentally shifted their perspective,
Right.
and the story takes on a whole new dimension.
Okay, so we've got the hook, the inciting incident,
Yeah.
and the first plot point,
Uh-huh.
all setting up this incredible journey.
Yeah.
What happens next in this 8-part structure?
Okay.
This is where the action kicks in.
Not quite yet. Remember, Jurassic Park masterfully builds tension
Right.
and suspense before we get to the all-out action.
Yeah.
The story needs to introduce some obstacles, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Raise the stakes. That's where the first pinch point comes in.
A pitch point.
Yeah.
That sounds intense.
It is... Think of it as a moment that foreshadows danger,
Okay.
hinting at the antagonist's power.
Okay.
It's like that feeling you get when you're watching a horror movie
Yeah.
and the music starts to swell. You know, something bad is about to happen.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I see. So it's not like a full-blown crisis yet,
Right.
but it's definitely a warning sign.
Yeah, like a warning sign.
So what's the first pinch point in Jurassic Park?
Okay, so the first pinch point is the approaching tropical storm.
Oh, yeah.
It starts subtly. You see those dark clouds gathering,
Yeah.
wind picking up,
Right.
and you can practically feel the tension rising.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Yeah.
It creates such an uneasy atmosphere.
Yes.
Like the calm before the storm.
Yes, exactly.
But it's also like a clever way to isolate the characters.
Yes.
Making them more vulnerable.
Exactly. And this sense of isolation and impending danger
Right.
directly feeds into the next major part of the structure, the midpoint.
The midpoint, this is where things really start to get interesting, right?
Absolutely. It's a pivotal turning point in the story, often a major reveal or confrontation that shifts the entire direction of the plot.
Oh,
It's like the oh snap moment
wow.
where everything changes.
Okay, so if the first half of the film is all about setup and anticipation,
Right.
what happens at the midpoint that, like, flips the script?
Well, in Jurassic Park, the midpoint is iconic.
Yeah.
It's the T-Rex escape, of course.
Wow.
That heart-stopping moment when the power goes out
Right.
and the king of the dinosaurs breaks free.
That scene is pure movie magic.
It is.
The tension,
Yeah.
the special effects,
Yeah. Yeah.
the sheer terror. You really feel like you're right there
You do.
with the characters experiencing that primal fear.
It's not just about the spectacle, though.
Okay.
It's a brilliant illustration of how the midpoint can completely change the stakes of the story.
Okay.
Up until this point, there's a sense of wonder and exploration,
Right.
but the T-Rex escape shifts everything.
Uh-huh.
Now it's a fight for survival.
And it also forces the characters to confront their own vulnerabilities. Right?
Totally.
Like Alan's fear of children, for example,
Yeah,
becomes a major obstacle when he has to protect Lex and Tim.
absolutely. The midpoint often acts as a catalyst for character development. It pushes them out of their comfort zones and forces them to adapt to this new reality.
So the first pinch point sets up the midpoint,
Yes.
which then completely changes the course of the story.
Right.
What comes after this, like, big turning point?
After the midpoint, we have another crucial element, the second pinch point.
Okay.
This is another obstacle, often even more challenging than the first,
Right.
that raises the stakes even higher
Okay.
and pushes the characters closer to that ultimate climax.
Okay, so if the first pinch point is like a warning sign,
Yes.
the second one is a full-blown alarm bell.
Precisely. And it often has far-reaching consequences
Uh-huh.
that ripple through the rest of the story.
So in Jurassic Park, what would be considered the second pinch point?
Okay.
Is it another dinosaur attack?
It's actually a little more subtle than that.
Okay.
Remember Dennis Nedry?
Yep.
The disgruntled programmer who tries to steal the dinosaur embryos?
Yes.
His death, while seemingly unconnected to the main character's struggle for survival,
Right.
becomes a major turning point.
Oh, right, because his sabotage of the park's security systems is what allows the dinosaurs to roam free in the first place.
Exactly. And it's his death that ultimately leads to the complete shutdown of the park's power grid,
Wow.
making it even more dangerous for our heroes.
Right.
It's a brilliant example of how a seemingly minor event
Right.
can have this cascading effect on the entire story.
Wow, you're right. I never thought about Nedry's death in that context before.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that, like, every element of a well-structured story
Yes,
serves a purpose,
it does.
even if it's not immediately apparent.
Now, this brings us to the third plot point,
Okay.
often described as a false victory followed by a low moment.
Okay.
This is where the characters make a last-ditch effort to achieve their goal,
Right.
only to experience a devastating setback.
So it's like they're so close to escaping,
Yeah.
only to be knocked down even harder.
Yes.
That's brutal.
It's a classic storytelling technique designed to keep the audience on the edge of their seats and create that emotional resonance.
Can you give an example from Jurassic Park?
Sure.
There are so many close calls and near escapes. It's hard to keep track.
One of the most memorable examples is when Ellie finally manages to restore power to the park.
Oh, right.
It's a moment of triumph. They think they've finally turned the tide, but...
But then Timmy gets electrocuted while trying to climb the fence.
Yes.
And they're attacked by velociraptors in the maintenance shed.
Exactly. It's a 1-2 punch of bad news.
It is.
That's the essence of the third plot point.
Yeah.
It creates a sense of despair, a feeling that all is lost.
Right.
It's the darkest hour before that final confrontation.
Okay, so the tension is at its peak.
Yeah.
We've had 2 pinch points,
Yeah.
a major turning point at the midpoint, and now this crushing setback.
Yeah.
What comes next is this finally where we get to the climax.
You guessed it, the climax, the moment we've all been waiting for.
Right.
It's the peak of the conflict.
Yeah.
The final showdown. Where the protagonist confronts the antagonist and the outcome of the story hangs in the balance.
It all comes down to this.
It does, and Jurassic Park's climax does not disappoint.
Right.
It's a masterclass in tension, action, and emotional payoff.
So we've got our heroes trapped in the visitor center,
Yeah.
surrounded by velociraptors.
Uh-huh.
What happens next?
Okay, it's this thrilling sequence.
Okay.
A desperate battle for survival. As Alan, Ellie, Lex, and Tim use their wits and courage to outmaneuver these raptors.
Right.
But just when all hope seems lost.
Oh, man, hold on. Let me guess.
Yeah.
The T-Rex makes a comeback.
You got it. Just as the raptors are about to close in for the kill,
Wow.
the T-Rex bursts through the skeleton of a Spinosaurus
Oh, my God.
and takes on the raptors,
Wow.
giving our heroes a chance to escape.
Talk about a Deus ex machina.
I know, right?
But it works so well in this context.
It does.
It's almost like the park itself is intervening to restore balance.
It's a brilliant resolution to the external conflict.
Yeah.
And more importantly, it mirrors Alan's internal struggle.
Oh.
He finally overcomes his fear of children and steps into the role of protector,
Right.
saving Lex and Tim from the raptors.
And then there's that final scene,
Yes.
the helicopter lifting off as the sun sets over the island.
Beautiful.
Alan looks at Hammond, and you can see the weight of the experience etched on his face.
It's a powerful moment of reflection.
Yeah.
Alan realizes the true cost of Hammond's ambition
Right.
and decides not to endorse the park.
Okay.
He understands that some things are best left in the past, and nature should be respected, not exploited.
It's a reminder that the climax isn't just about spectacle.
Right.
It's about transformation.
Yes.
The characters, and often the audience, are forever changed by the events that unfold.
Exactly. And that's the power of a well-structured story.
Yeah.
It takes us on a journey, challenges our perspectives,
Right.
and leaves us with something to think about long after the credits roll.
So we've explored these 8 parts of the 3-act structure,
Yeah.
using Jurassic Park as our guide. It's amazing to see how this framework, while seemingly invisible, shapes the entire narrative,
It does.
creating this satisfying and emotionally resonant experience.
It truly is. And this framework isn't limited to just Jurassic Park or even just film.
Right.
It's a universal storytelling tool
Yeah.
that you can apply to any narrative.
Right.
From novels to presentations to
Right.
even casual conversations.
That's what's so fascinating about this deep dive.
Yeah.
It's not just about understanding how movies work. It's about unlocking the secrets of compelling storytelling in all its forms.
Absolutely. And the best part is,
Yeah.
once you understand these principles, you start to see them everywhere.
Uh-huh.
You begin to recognize the hooks, the turning points,
Right.
the climaxes, and the stories that you encounter every day.
It's like a secret code has been revealed,
I like that.
and you can now decode the language of storytelling.
Yeah.
So whether you're writing a screenplay, pitching a project, or just trying to tell a captivating story at a party, this 8-part framework can be your guide.
It's true.
It can help you craft narratives that engage, entertain, and leave a lasting impact.
And here's a thought-provoking question for you to ponder.
Okay.
Think about your favorite book, movie, or even a personal experience that has stayed with you.
Okay.
Can you identify these 8 parts in action?
Interesting.
You might be surprised by how this seemingly simple structure shapes the stories we love and the experiences that shape our lives.
It's like we've been given this new lens through which to view the world,
Yeah.
and suddenly the stories around us become even richer and more meaningful.
That's a great way to put it.
This has been an incredible deep dive.
It has.
I feel like I've unlocked a whole new level of understanding when it comes to storytelling.
I'm so glad.
Well, thank you so much for guiding us through this fascinating exploration of the three-act structure.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
And to you, our listener, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time for another adventure in knowledge and discovery. Happy storytelling.